Hi, everyone. My name is Makai Aguirre, and today I'm going to tell you about how I see the world, and more specifically, the changes that come with it. Change is scary. We all know that. But should we fear change in the way that we sometimes do? All the time, you hear about people being told to face your fears. But if you're anything like me, you know it's no walk in the park to just up and face what you fear most. What works for me is a little bit of positive thinking or optimism. Now, don't get me wrong, optimism is dangerous. Too much optimism makes you naive and too unwilling to see the dangers in most situations. Too much pessimism creates negative thinking and lowers your confidence. I want to be able to tell you about balancing optimism with reality and to be able to understand the severity or nature of a situation, but to be able to see it in a more positive light and understand how all of that applies to changes in your life. To start, let me tell you about fear. Fear is an extremely powerful emotion. It can overtake your senses in seconds and cause you to act irrationally or out of your character. I've learned to understand my fear and to live with it rather than trying to eliminate it. Although I will be the first to say, I don't like trying new things. Going new places, meeting new people, doing things as crazy as standing on a stage in front of a crowd of strangers and telling them about how terrified I am to be standing in front of them. But here I am, telling you about fear and optimism and change because I figured out how to live with the fear that I feel even to this moment. I know so many people who live life like I used to, in constant fear of anything new or that changes things. It is right to be afraid of change. Fear is normal and healthy and a natural way to defend yourself against anything bad that might come your way. But living in constant fear, under its control, does nothing for you. Fear's purpose is just to get you to slow down and think for a second and understand that there's potentially disastrous outcomes in whatever it is you're facing. I know this feeling like the back of my hand. I'm openly homosexual, and coming out, even though we live in a very progressive time, was one of the single most terrifying things I had ever considered. What if I wasn't accepted? What if my parents never looked at me the same way again? What if I got kicked out and had to live on the street and look for somebody, anybody, who would accept me for who I am? At the time, I was 13 years old, which is a terrible time to be thinking about being completely and entirely alone. It took me a long time to muster the courage to tell my parents, and they accepted me, which I'm grateful for every single day. But I also know that not everyone in this world will accept me, and that's terrifying. I have to keep moving forward, despite the lack of acceptance that I may face. Because if I wasn't acting the way that I want to be acting, if I was not the same honest person that I am now, if I wasn't being true to myself, I wouldn't be me. And sure, maybe that's selfish and even a little bit childish, but I'm sure there's plenty of people in this room who have wanted to change how they act so badly, but never had the courage. Maybe you just wanted to dye your hair that one random color. Or maybe you wanted to tell your friend or a loved one something really important, but the risk of it all pushes you back. Or maybe you're like me, and you're facing something with sexuality, and everything just seems a little bit confusing. It's all right to feel that way, I promise. You can stay there in that spot where you don't take that chance, and you don't take that jump, and nothing will change. But if you're unhappy with that, if you aren't okay to just sit there, what can you do to change it? Well, funny enough, what I think about that doesn't actually matter. I could go around this room and tell every single person what I think that you should do to change your life, but it would never be as important as what you think that you should do. It's your mind, you already know what you want to do. So what's the secret to putting your thoughts to action and overcoming that sense of fear? Positive thinking. It sounds so simple, but it's easier said than done. it's a matter of going against your own mind sometimes. I never imagined myself to be an optimistic person. Anytime I thought about anyone or anything, it was always very, very negative. Somebody could say, "It's a beautiful sunny day," and I'd respond with something along the lines of, "If you think there is anything okay with this 90-degree weather, you are a fool, and I want nothing to do with you." I mean, I'm serious. I have a nasty tendency to be a very sassy and negative kid, which has honestly just led to some bad friends, bad decisions, and a part of my life I would much rather block out than think about. But one day, just out of nowhere really, I started thinking to myself, maybe everything isn't as grim and awful as I'm making it out to be. Mostly because I love to over-exaggerate, but that's besides the point. As I started to think about all the good that can come out of things, I started to apply it even to myself. And instead of focusing on if I was unhappy with aspects of my appearance, or the fact that I said that one dumb thing to my friend that one time, I started to think of all of those flaws and every little bit of me as just another thing that builds me into me. And I know you won't all go start seeing the world in sunshine and rainbows. It's not realistic. But thinking positively, even if you don't believe it, is a good way to start. So if you're willing to look for the good in situations, if you're willing to truly see all of the good that this world has to offer, because there truly is so much of it, it will change your life. I believe that. So when change happens and you look back on it, I hope that you can use that same positive thinking to know that even if you change for the worse, even if you see it as a horrible mistake and you regret every moment of it, that you can still change further. People are constantly changing. I'm not the same person that I was yesterday, and I won't be tomorrow. I look back on my mistakes, and sure, they sucked a lot. But I know that in the end, it's just a lot of experience that goes towards making me the best person that I can be. That's my positive thinking right there. Sometimes it's easier to just accept things as they are and move past it. I know plenty of people who would think about a situation and think, if I had just acted differently, if I had just done this or that, then everything would be different. And I mean, sure, they're right. It would all be different if you had acted any differently. But that's not the case. What happened in our past will stay in our past and will shape our future. The people that we become because of our mistakes have made us different because we feel hurt and joy and everything in between. And our experiences have changed us, for better or for worse. But change is flexible. And how you view change is up to you and you alone. So, don't fear change forever. Embrace it in your own way, with your own mind. Because in this room, I see nothing but incredible minds of people who have struggled, of people who do struggle, of who will struggle. Because we are alive and changing and growing every single moment we live. Keep moving forward. I wish you all the best. Thank you.